Good morning, everyone. I trust that you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. I have a wonderful moderator. My dad is going to be helping me moderate the chat. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask the questions, and then if we have time, then we can go through and try and answer them at that. Did everyone, were you all a part of the welcome section? I was trying to get into it, but unfortunately I was just preparing for this session, and then when I popped in, I don't know exactly what that welcome stuff was about, and then it kind of ended, so I'm not really sure what happened, but we'll have to see. I'll have to watch the replay and see what it was all about. But it's very interesting, and I'm really excited about the conference. So we'll see. Let me know in the chat what classes that you are really excited about going to see. I know I really want to get the worship tools session. We use worship tools and we use it pretty well, but I know that we can always learn some more stuff. Good morning, AJ. How are things going today? Are you running around like a chicken with your head cut off? Alrighty, I pulled up the chat on my other screen here. So at our church, we have a bunch of stuff going on right now. We have people who are actually, a family is getting their Canadian citizenship. And so we have people on laptops all around the church taking their citizen swearing in. So that's a fun thing that's happening that is also grabbing our bandwidth as well. So that's a fun thing. It's a great thing, and we have also people who are coming and joining in and participating and congratulating them as well. So that's a fun thing. Lots of things going on, yeah, and never a dull moment. So about 5 minutes or so before we get going, we'll hopefully see. So this is going to be a very, very packed session because I have a lot of things I want to cover. So we will see how much we can actually go through, and what I might do if we have time is do like another session to go through some stuff that we don't get covered today, but we'll try and get as much covered as we possibly can, and then if we don't get everything all covered, then we can do a follow-up session either maybe later today or tomorrow or another time, or questions in the group or whatever. But well, you roll with the punches as we all do with things on the system. So should have had some hold beginning music.
Bruce Adams says, hello, everybody.
Hey, Bruce. We'll see. I'll maybe put some music in the post. I'm going to probably use this as a training session for our our group as well, because they really don't know the back end of our system as much as they need to. They know basically how to do our operating of the system, but not really how it's actually all done. And it's good for them to know how it's actually all put together, nuts and bolts, because if they need to go in and make adjustments, then it's better to uh, you know how the sandwich is made. I'm actually using our system to stream to this, so we have our not the actual cameras, because to basically it's a meta thing, because we can't actually show you the system while we're actually showing it with OBS and stuff. So I've got actually just a little behind the scenes thing. I've got two versions of OBS running to be able to run it, and I have a separate camera with that. But I've used the concept to actually do the picture-in-picture with all the masks and stuff. So I've got the same type of thing where I can basically bring in the different camera positions, so I can move myself around wherever we're doing, and using things so that we can have the background set up there. So I'll just basically show you exactly in today's session how that is all set up. And the thing that is really nice about our system is that we have PTZ control of our cameras and stuff. So that's why we have multi-camera picture-in-picture PTZ system. And so it is like 10 o'clock, so I think what we will do is let's get started. So multi-camera picture-in-picture PTZ systems. And a little bit about me. My name is Mike Fair, and I am the worship coordinator, the tech director at Connect Community Church in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The wonderful Great White North. I'm just going out of frame, so let me just, there we go. So basically the plan today, I don't know if anyone has joined, but I like it to be a little bit interactive. So I have my dad here who's going to be doing moderating on the chat. So if you have any questions you can feel free to ask them. And if they don't take too much time, then we can try and answer them as they come up. But if we really need to keep moving because there's a lot of things to go over. But what we'll do is we will do a quick demo video, and then we will go through all of the resources that are needed in order to put the system together. And after that, then we will go through and get into the down and dirty details. So here we go, and we will run this quick demo video of what the system's all about. Okay, so let's strap in. As I said, we have a bunch of things to go over. The system is quite um, intense to actually set up, but once you have it set up, it is very easy for volunteers to use and set up each week to change the presets and things like that to go through. But so keep your arms inside the ride at all times, and I can't guarantee your safety, but let's go. So what you need on this for resources. What you need first is your streaming computer. Your streaming computer should be pretty darn powerful. Ours is a Ryzen 7 and has a 3060 graphics card. And so it will handle the stream very nicely. And we use OBS to do that, and a bunch of good plugins to do all of the things that we do. You can use an ATEM if you wanted to, but what I find is that the software that OBS provides, you can do some cool things with masks and things that the ATEM can't really do. You can make some circle masks and things with the ATEM, but there are some better masks that you can do with OBS that are better to do with software of OBS. Then we have a presentation computer that runs our worship tools and PowerPoint to be the background of things there. Um, and so that one's just a mini PC to be able to do that. Um, and then we have our PTZ cameras. Currently, we have 3 PTZ cameras that are at the back of the church, one at the right, and then one in the center, and then one in the left there, that are all controlled to be able to do that. And it's great to be able to do that so that you can move one camera and position it, and then switch to another shot, so that I really don't like when you're moving cameras on screen. I don't see that that's a great way to show things. So if you have at least maybe 2 cameras, then you can move one camera and then off screen and then switch between them. So I think at least probably 2 cameras, and you could even just make one like just a static shot for that to just make your live stream really nice to do that. Then you need a stream deck to be able to control everything. And in order to also do the stream deck, what is very powerful with this, uh, um, it, you can bring in with the stream deck and the um, uh, bring in the screen with NDI as well, but also in connection with the Stream Deck, we use Companion to bring in everything together with as the glue of things, because Companion can control your PTZs, it can switch your scenes together, it can turn on filters of the mask and things like that. For instance, I can go full screen here, I can go back to the different things like that, and it's all because I have the Stream Deck Companion filters that are all setting up on that. You can control the system with a Stream Deck like that, but Companion can also do more things with the plugins that it has to actually control more things, such as the controlling the PTZ cameras. In fact, let's go through and give you a quick little demo of what our system actually looks like here. So you can see here, let me go full screen on that. There we go. Hi, here I am. You see me in the bottom there. And you can see that we have our Stream Deck here, right here, and what it actually looks like. And this is our multi-view camera here. And what you can see, let me just turn off the Stream Deck here. So that you don't see that. And so this is basically what people actually see on a Sunday morning with our multi-view, except for myself. I've overlaid it myself on the one spot there, but it's got another camera that's on that. But generally, that's what people will see when people are working on Sunday morning there. So let me just turn that back on. So we got our Stream Deck. And so what they will basically be able to do is switch the different camera views. Here we have our stage left camera, and then our center camera, and our right camera. And so we can switch like that. And then down here we have the different camera positions. So we have the top right, top left, then center, and we can just move them all around for different ways like that. And so you can see basically I have my presentation that's running in the background from my presentation computer, and I can just move that all around like that. Okay, and then we have over here, we see here we have the ability here to control the left camera. So I'm going to go here, back to full screen here. We could let's control our stage left camera here, and then we can go control left, and then here, this is our system here to control our camera and move it around. So if we, actually, I'm going to go back to the center camera here. Go back, change this here. And then we can, oh, hit the wrong one. Let's put this back up. There we go. So go back to the center camera here, and then we can basically move it around. Now the thing is, what we don't want to do is see it's moving it around in program. We don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that it's not moving around in program. That's why we want to switch it around. But you can move the camera around using the buttons here, and you can do that. But then over here we have the different presets that are all set up here. So this is set up basically from last week's worship thing here. So we can click piano, and then it would move it over to the piano there. And then here's where the pastor was for worship last time there. And so we have, you know, Eileen, and then the flute, and all that kind of stuff. So all of these over on the left-hand side here is all preset ones that we can have, and there's about 15 different presets that we can have set up here on that. So that's basically all our camera control stuff, and we have ones for each of the cameras that are there. And so this is our main screen here, and then we have our camera control systems that are set up there. So I think that's basically just a quick demo of what the operators actually do each time. So let me just go back here, and let me go back. So that's Companion is great to be able to do that, to control the PTZs and everything all together. So let's move on now. So in terms of the software that you need to do for setting up OBS, you need to actually have some plugins that are in addition to OBS itself. So there is a plugin called Source Clone, which basically allows you to go in and clone the source and use it all over the place and apply different filters from a copy of the clone of the source, which is great. And then the other one to be able to move the source around is called Move Source, and that's great to be able to do that. Now the other thing is the audio monitor, which is not necessarily for moving things, but I can't recommend this enough because 50% of your video is audio. And if you don't have good audio, people are going to leave, right? So you need to make sure audio monitor allows you to make sure that what you are sending out audio-wise is working properly. And audio monitor allows you to route your audio any which way you want and send it to your headphones, to any ways, so you can monitor things to make sure that you have great audio. Otherwise, people are not going to watch what you want. Then also you need to have your NDI plugin, because NDI is the way that we bring in our PowerPoint from our presentation machine. And then also we need Companion to make sure that Companion will glue everything together. And so those are the links there. I will send the slide deck of this with the links in it at the end there. Okay, so let's get down and dirty into the OBS setup and also companion. And let's keep track of our time to make sure, and we'll see how far we get in our showing exactly how this is all set up, and we'll find out. And if we go over, then we can maybe try and set up another session to continue on a part two, as we say here in Canada, in Quebec. Oh, so that's for later. So if we'll go with that later. Okay. So let me go and switch to where am I going here? I need to, there we go. Okay. All right. So now we have OBS, but I need to switch to my second copy of OBS. There we go. Okay, so this is our actual OBS system that we actually run each week, and you saw what the multi-view actually looked like. And the key of setting that up is that in our scenes here, up at the top here, we have the order of scenes here is going to be what is in our multi-view that shows there. So basically each week when we start up OBS, we click here, we click view, and then we click multi-view and put it onto our second monitor there. So that's how we see that. So the multi-view shows up there so people can actually see all of our cameras and see that. And the way that we do that is that we have our scene set up here. So let's dive into here. So we have our PowerPoint scene. And so our PowerPoint scene has a scene that basically has a logo that we could turn on if we wanted to just have our logo on that, if we just want to show that. But we don't really use that often because we can just basically turn it to a logo from the computer. But in case there's something that is not working right, then we can just turn that on quickly in case we need to do that. Then we have here our lovely NDI source. So if we click on that, then we have our NDI source that is our second monitor from the screen there. And so when you look at that, then you can see the screen that is coming from the presentation computer, and that will show up there on that. So that is our screen for that. Then the next screen is our cameras here. So we have our preview of our left camera, and that is a camera here. And so all of the preview that you have is any camera source can be like, you can bring it in through USB, HDMI, whatever. So we have capture cards, just, you know, the little USB HDMI for that. Or this one is actually a USB camera that comes in with that. And so however the source is, so these are just basically video capture sources that come in here. And so we have that, and then we have this one here is another camera here with a HDMI USB dongle. And then this one here is, again, the next one is the right PTZ camera. And then here, the preview sound booth right now is an NDI source that actually goes through and does a screen capture of this screen, which is why you're getting the infinite window of that, just so I could show things on things like that. The next one here is, actually that one's to do object lessons when, if our children's worker pastor shows the object lessons and stuff. So we have a screen that's set up to do that way. Then finally, we have our final scene. Our final scene is the one that has everything that is the that's the main scene that everything goes in. And so this is the one that I'm going to show you basically how everything works. But actually, just before that, I want to actually show you how the cameras that I just showed you there are put together in the layers for the picture-in-picture system. So we have a scene called picture-in-picture, PIP, and here all of the scenes are here, and this is where the source clone comes in. And what happens is each of these are all clones of mirrors of all of these preview scenes. So you have the mirror stage right, and you look at that, and it's a mirror of the source of the preview stage right. And the reason that we do that is so that we can actually see on the multi-view what is going on, and then we actually can see and actually activate it in the picture-in-picture. And to be able to do that is just be able to click on that in companion to activate the individual scenes sources in the picture-in-picture. And the way that it works is you activate one of the scenes in here and hide the others. So that's how we switch between the different cameras in the picture-in-picture on the system between them here. And the way that we can do that, and why it's all grouped together in the picture-in-picture scene, is that once we have everything all together in the picture-in-picture scene, we can then apply filters to this. So if we right-click on this and then we go to filters, then you can see that we have a couple of filters that are here. So if we click on this and apply this filter called Garden Mask, then that actually applies the nice round circle filter for that. And so that's nice. We can do the same type of thing on an ATEM, and or we could make it, make it square, which is fine, and move it, things like that. But we can do things like this. Tell me how you're going to do that on an ATEM. That's a nice cloud. You can't do that on an ATEM. To my knowledge, if there is a way to do it on an ATEM, let me know, because if that'd be awesome, and I'd love to be able to figure out a way to do that. But maybe with super source and things on the higher models, I don't know. But anyways, that's very cool to be able to do that type of masking on it. So that's why you apply, have everything grouped together of the different cameras. So you can basically apply the mask to the uh, visible camera that is in the scene there. Okay.
Kenneth wants to know,
yep.
How do you preview if the video is hidden?
How do you preview if the video is hidden? How do you, in what respect? What are you previewing? Just let me know exactly what the context of the preview is on that. Because
Tara wants to know, is the PIP a plugin?
No, the PIP is just a scene in here. The PIP is just a scene here with all of the different cameras that are mirrored from here. So uh, it's just a regular scene. And then when I get to here, like let's go to the final scene here so that you can maybe understand where it is here. So our final scene is where, as I mentioned, how this is this where OBS lives on a Sunday morning here because this is where everything happens. So we have our lower thirds here, which basically brings in all of our lyrics and scriptures and things like that, which comes in from uh, our worship tools there. And so what we have is we have what we were able to do when we moved to worship tools. We were able to present our uh, front front screen, and then also we have a second screen that has NDI screen capture to present the same lyrics as, as an NDI, and then we chroma key it out to present just the same as a lower third. And so now that basically allows us to remove one person from it. We used to have just where it would be one who worked the person at the front of this and ran the projector screen, and then someone who would actually do the uh, lyrics for the live stream. And so with moving to worship tools, we were able to change things around for our process. And now we just have one person who runs the front of this front projector and live stream at the same time. So that brings things together with that. Then we have, so that brings through our lyrics on that. And that's basically the top level of stuff there. And then we have, after that, sorry, that, I'm sorry, that the lower thirds are basically if we want to actually show like who's actually speaking. The lyrics one is here. Lyrics and scripture is this one here. My mistake. Okay, and then we have one that is our global audio. Global audio, the way that is best practice I find with audio is you can basically in your settings go through and put in settings in OBS to bring in your desktop and your mic and things like that. But I find that it's not the best way to do that because you'll Windows will go through and it will make changes on things, and if you unplug or plug in something, it's going to change things out from you. Not the best way to do it. So what I find is like if you go through here, you can actually see in our list here we have a global audio scene, which actually has our all of our audio. So we have where'd it go? Lost it. There it is. Global audio. So here's our SQ mixer. And so basically that's the one that we have right there. And so we know for sure that's the only audio that's going to be coming in on that. And so we just basically add the scene to wherever we want audio to come in the system. And then that will help make sure that we have our audio set up properly in the system, and then we don't have extra things coming in and Windows switching things out. So we have, that's the way that we have our things set up here. And then we have,
So, okay, Ty is asking, do you have a topology drawing, example, Visio, of your setup that you can share?
I don't have one, but I can make one and share it in the Facebook group afterwards. That'd be good. And I probably should have because that helps with people for understanding and things like that. And then we have our picture-in-picture scene, which is basically all of our cameras. here, okay? And the picture-in-picture is going to be all of our cameras to be able to go through and show the cameras. And on here is, if we click on this and we look at the filters that are applied here, we have the garden mask filter that we can apply there. And so we can do that, and then we have a couple of filters for that. So that's basically, and then what we would do is activate those in Companion to actually show those there. And then finally, at the very bottom is our PowerPoint scene, which brings in um, our screen from our presentation computer. So that's the layer, and as Ty mentioned, I'll make that layer and graph of the topology of things with that to actually show how that actually works. But these are the layers of things there. So that's basically the setup in OBS, how that works there. And another question?
OBS, yeah. Charles is wondering the reason his church has used ATEM because of that OBS adds latency, and there's a delay between audio and video syncing. Um, so he's saying, how do you avoid latency with OBS when it's just a software encoder versus a hardware encoder?
We have not experienced latency. That is generally, I think it's probably the computer, and you can make some adjustments on it, but we have not really. Our streaming computer seems to be fast enough, and with the system that we actually have, we have really not seen latency. Maybe there is a little bit, but it's acceptable for us.
Charles said also, did you make those filters in Adobe Illustrator or something?
I just actually Googled for masks and found masks. They're readily available on that. So the filters here on the final here, if you right click on the scene here, this is where you actually see here. This is the filters here, and these are basically the filters for. I mentioned about the Move Source plugin, and these are all Move Source filters. And what it does is basically go in and it takes the source of the picture-in-picture, which is that group of the cameras, and it will actually go through and move that picture to the right spot. So if I activate that filter, then it moves it here. And so you can see that that basically moves it all over to each one here. So you can see all of the different ones here. So you basically, you don't have to set this up each time at all. Once it's set up now, you just go ahead and set up once it's all set up like this. And then we have the full screen, which actually brings it back to full screen for the picture-in-picture there. So that's how the filters work on the main scene in the final scene there. So that's basically the OBS portion of the setup for that. Any questions on that before we move into the companion setup? Okay, let's move into the companion setup. Because the companion setup, I think, is the the wonderful glue that holds everything together. Okay. So I don't know if anyone is familiar with Companion, but Companion basically works with Stream Decks, or it will work actually with, if you don't have a Stream Deck, it has an emulator, and you can actually use it with an iPad as well, or you can actually use remote stuff. So Companion used to be, it could just work with just a Stream Deck, but then they built in some emulation stuff, so it works really nicely, and it's gotten better with age. So I really like what it's done so far.
Charles has a question. How did you make logos? He's just talking because he's
How did we make logos? That's just a GIF that's transparent, and then we just stick it in from. Actually, no, sorry, that's a PNG with stuff, and then we just stick it in to the bottom right, and then we can just basically turn it on or off with the with a button in Companion to actually show it or not. So that's.
Tara wants to know, is there a way to get the companion to launch an app like the Stream Deck does? I couldn't.
Yep, Companion has a way to launch an app. I put it in the Q&A one time. I think about maybe a month ago, someone else asked that. I don't remember because I don't really use it, but I looked it up, and there is a way. I can look it up again, but it's you can actually do that, and it works pretty nicely. I tested it out, but it's out of my head because I don't use it very often. But so in Companion, basically what you can do is you can go ahead and make connections to various devices here. And the connections can be devices or it can be software. So right now I have, everybody can see the Companion screen here, the settings. Let's make sure. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. So basically we have OBS as our camera here, or sorry, not it's our OBS connection here, which connects to OBS and all of the control of that. Then we have our right camera, which is controlled by Visca. And then we have our center camera, which is also controlled by Visca. And then we have an on-air, which is actually a TP-Link smart plug. And so what happens, I actually was able to recently do it so that when we actually start streaming, I have the on-air light that we have. And so when we start streaming, then the people at the front of the church will actually see that the on-air light will actually turn on, similar to what AJ has at the beginning of his Q&A stuff. So I thought that that was cool, so that they don't have to automatically or remember to turn it on. It automatically turns on at the beginning of the stream. So with Companion, you can actually use triggers to turn that on and off by hitting the stream button at the beginning. Then we have our, this one here is the center camera. Actually works with USB, so it has another connection there. And then we have our left camera there. And then we have some stuff for Reaper if we want to record our service there. And then some other stuff that we really don't need to worry about for our connections there. So that's basically how you actually connect everything all up in Companion. And once you get that all set up, the cool next step is to go through and set up your buttons. So the buttons basically go through. And now I would recommend, if you want to get a Stream Deck, I have actually a couple of Stream Decks. I have the XL, which is the largest one, and I would recommend that you actually get that one because it's the most versatile for all of the number of buttons that you actually have. It's the most expensive, but then I also have the the mini that I recently picked up, and you can actually go through and use that one. But you just basically have to realize that you're only going to use the first, um, 8 buttons on the companion when you want to set that up. So it just depends on what you want to do on each page there. So if I go to page 20, which is what I basically use to set up the stuff for this stream here, I have things that are set up to actually help with the stream here. So that is basically set up with that. But here is our main page here. And as you actually saw in the demo that we did, this is our camera control here. So to be able to do that, we have here is our stage left control. And this is basically, if you click on that, then what it's going to do is actually go through and change it to the stage left camera. Now, the wonderful thing about Companion is that you can get really advanced and set different variables and go and change different logic and do different if statements and things like that. The geek in me is coming out, and so I'm a programmer, so I kind of get into the leverage all of the advanced stuff with this, and so I've set up variables to basically go through and make sure that when you actually click on the camera, then you can actually go through and it'll make sure that you actually know which camera is actually selected and things like that. So when you click on that, it will make sure that it has proper feedback on that in the variables with that. So what it actually does, oh, you know what? What's our time here?
It's 20 to 11.
22. You know what? Maybe we might be able to go through this. Well, you know what? You know what? Let me just go back and show you. There's a cool thing that I've done recent before. Um, let me go back to the phone here. I've added a stinger to the system, and so let me click on here. And so if you click the stinger, then when you actually change to the camera, watch what happens. So you can have a cool stinger transition between switching to the different cameras. And so I basically, at Christmas time, I added this nice cool star transition. And so I don't think we'll be able to actually go through and show you exactly the full how that actually worked together, because that's pretty complicated in switching things out. But then you can turn that off by long pressing on the stinger, and then you can go back and then it'll just regularly switch to things like that. But I just wanted to show you that so that when you go back to the other camera, um, it will show you. Let me go back to the main one here. Um, and make sure that we're on the right. Yeah, okay. Then when we go to our Stream Deck stuff, I just didn't want you to be confused about in the buttons here what all of this stuff at the top is, because this is all basically the logic to actually activate this stinger or not here. So let's just go through. This is how to basically, when you click on the button, this is what is going to happen to actually switch between the different cameras here. So let's just ignore the stuff up at the top to activate the cameras here. What we want to do is go to here where it's going to activate the left stage. So the left stage is actually on the page 9914. So we go to page 9914. So this is the button here. And what happens here is it's going to set the variable that it's to make sure that it's going to set the variable is set to left stage, and then in the OBS, the picture-in-picture filter, it's going to set that the left stage filter is going to be activated. So it's going to move it to the left, top left, okay? And then the other filters, oh, sorry, no, it's going to activate the stage left camera, and then it's going to go through and turn off all the other cameras to make sure that they are not shown, okay? And then the same with the other cameras. So if they click on the right PTZ camera, it's going to do the same thing where it shows the right camera and hide the other cameras. Again, with the center camera, it's going to show the center camera and hide the other cameras. And again, the sound booth camera ad nauseum is basically you copy those and just make sure that the camera that you want to show is the one that is shown, and then you hide the other cameras on that. So that's basically how you do that. Then that is the way that you do that. Then we're good?
John has a question. Maybe he missed it. He's listening in the background of work. Is there a way in Companion to program PTZ cameras to all go to exact location?
Yep,
Instance,
that's going to be the next thing that we do as part of the final stage of the camera. With that,
you can have all three PTZ cameras all move to that location.
Yeah, well, you can basically set the preset on that. So let me just go back to here. So let me just go back to here. So these are the buttons that will change the different camera positions here, and then these are the buttons here. This is how we actually move the cameras, the position of the screen to the different positions on, change it so that it becomes a circle around, becomes a rounded circle, and then move the camera around to the different positions, top left, top center, all around here. And so this basically is fairly simple here. You just basically go through and on your OBS final scene, you're going to activate that top left filter, and then you're going to set a custom variable of the picture-in-picture position to be the top left there, so that you can basically set up the feedback for that, so that when you actually click on that, it's going to turn yellow on that. Okay, so when you click on that, it turns yellow, and then after that, the final thing is to actually turn on the garden mask, which is the circle mask there. So originally we didn't have it set up so that it would be it would still stay a square, but when you apply the garden mask, then it will make it into the circle. The other thing is you can see the mask button here, and that basically applies the garden mask. And if we turn that off, then you can actually turn it back into a square. So if you turn that on or off, you could override that as well. So that basically just turns on or off the mask with that. So if you actually just go into there, it just does a toggle of the visibility there. And so it does that to do that. I'll just show you here in there with the feedback of the how we actually make sure that the yellow shows up on the screen so that you can actually see. So it's just done by setting the variable so that the picture-in-picture position variable is set. So when it's equal to top left, then it basically turns the button yellow there. And so you just basically set that, and then you copy it from each one, and then for each of these you turn on the different one, and you activate the different filters for each one and change the variable on each one. And so that's basically how you can set up each of the different positions for each of these buttons here to go through, and have the different positions for all of that to control the filters that are applied to the position to move the picture-in-picture scene around for that. So that's how that is working on that. Then we have another one here on the screen to basically turn on or off the lyrics, which is the scripture and lyrics on that, which is just a very simple source toggle on there. So it's very simple to do with that. So it's very nice. And then the other ones are just some nice to have things, like we can turn on or off or amp up in the sound booth to be able to do that. That's basically just has a smart plug that is a TP-Link smart plug with that. So, and then here, this is the buttons to actually go to control our PTZ cameras. So if we click on that, it just navigates to different pages to do our PTZ controls. And someone mentioned about how we actually control our PTZs, which is, let's see, look, well, we don't have that much time, but we will try and get through these very quickly. So let's click our PTZ control, and I'll just go through. I think I showed you a little bit what our PTZs are. So this is really quickly, you mentioned about how to set up presets. So right now we have, as I mentioned in the demo, we have 15 different, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, I think, yeah, 15 different presets that we can actually set. And the way that we actually do that is if you click on the preset button, then it will actually move the camera to the preset, and then so you can basically use the buttons over here to actually move the camera around and position it, and then you can zoom in, zoom out with all of the camera controls on this with using the Visca protocol on that. And then once you have that, the way that you do that is to actually set the preset is you long press the button. Okay, and once you do that, then it will actually store the preset of where the camera is actually set right now in the location. And so basically each Sunday morning when we go through and we set up our camera shots for the worship theme that's on, we'll go through and we can go through and then like basically we'll rename it like so. Uh, we have worship team 1 on this week, so we can just basically go in and we'll rename it. So this is going to be James, and then we have Emily is going to be here, and so we'll just basically go through and rename these so that when the person who's going to be doing the operating, then we'll go through and on the Sunday morning when we go through, we'll go through and reposition the cameras and then right click on it, or not right click on it, long press the camera position to do that. So if you needed to basically set the pulpit, actually the pulpit just basically is always stays the same, so we always keep that the way it is, so you can always keep that the same. So that's how you can set presets for the PTZ camera, because it's basically saved in companion with the coordinates of that location. So I think we pretty much have that. Actually, I don't know if we can really go through really quickly. We might be able to how this actually works. So the way that you work so that you do the different things where if you short press on it, it actually sets the, it actually goes to the location, is that you set a internal wait time of 1,000, and then basically if you do it where it's a short press of 50, then you're actually going to go through and actually move to the position of the camera. And so that's why basically, so if you hold it for more than a second, then it's going to actually set the location of the thing. See, so it says center save the preset. So if you hold it for more than a second, it's going to save it. But then if you press it for less than a second, or like, you know, so if you just quickly press it, then it's going to actually move it to the location. So that's basically how you go through and you save it to the location of the different preset numbers. So you have the different presets there that you can choose, and I mean there's like a buttload of presets that you can actually do, but unfortunately, you know, I was thinking about maybe like just changing to different pages so that we can keep that, but I'm not sure exactly what the process would be for changing, because we have like 3 or 4 different teams and we could save things, but the problem is things move around and so things are fluid. So I just think, well, it's probably just as easy to just change the camera positions of the saved presets and just rename the camera positions each time. So that's what we've got so far. So anyways, that's basically our setup there, and we find that it's working fairly nice and it's fairly powerful. It, so let me just go back here to our I think. Where am I going? I lost my. So, yeah, I think that's it. And I think, well, hey, I think we made it all. Any, if you have any questions, then just hit me up on the Facebook group, or if there's any other questions at all.
Lydia wants to know, is there a cost for companion?
No, there's no cost for companion. You do have to register, but there is, like, you can donate to help, you know, move companion along and stuff like that. But no, there isn't a cost. I donated because I think they do a great job. So, but yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And let me just make sure that we're good. I think I can just go back to here, and I think I can do that. So if you want to submit the session survey, I think that would help with AJ and help out feedback from me on this, and it'd be great. So I hope you enjoyed this, and hope to see you in the next sessions. And we'll take care, everyone, and have a wonderful conference.
Anthony T says, great class, Mike. Richard says, thank you. Charles says, thank you. Lydia, thank you.
See you all at the Q&A.